Okay, this video is going to be very short again because we are going to write up the results of an ANOVA in APA style, right? But this should again be feeling very familiar to you. This is the fourth or fifth time that we've written up the results of a hypothesis test in APA style, and a lot of the elements are just the same. And I have included for you in the instruction handout kind of step-by-step for what you want to do to write up the results of an ANOVA. So it's pretty similar to what we've seen, introduction to the study, talking about the procedures of the study, reporting each group's mean and standard deviation. You're saying we conducted an ANOVA on the difference between group means, reporting the significance level. Here, you're not reporting whether it's one or two-tailed like you did for the other tests, and that's because, as we saw in class, an ANOVA can only be one-tailed. There's only ever going to be a non-directional hypothesis, so you don't need to report that, just the significance level. Then you're reporting the technical ANOVA results, right? So similar to what we saw before in terms of the format, you are reporting F, and then in brackets, you're reporting the degrees of freedom. But this time, there's two types of degrees of freedom, right? There's the between groups degrees of freedom and the within groups degrees of freedom. So in the brackets, instead of like for a t-test, when you were reporting just one number that was the degrees of freedom, here you're reporting first the between groups DF and then the within groups DF, and then close the brackets. So for the example in this output, F brackets 2, comma 147, as though that's 2 is the between groups degrees of freedom and 147 is the within groups degrees of freedom, and then equals, and then you're reporting your F ratio. And all of these numbers are found in the output. And then you're reporting the p-value for the F ratio. So after you have that, then you're just saying in words whether the overall difference was significant, or you're just comparing your p-value to that significance level. And then depending on that result, saying whether the overall difference was significant or not. You're going to report the effect size and interpret the effect size in terms of the percent variability and the dependent variable that is explained by the groups. So we went over this with examples in lecture. The part that is different about the ANOVA is that you're describing the results of the post hoc tests, right? The post hoc tests tell you after you get a significant overall ANOVA result, right, a significant p-value for the F ratio, you have to go to the post hoc test to see where the significant mean differences are between the three groups that you were looking at. All right, so I have an example here for you that you can look at to get a sense of how you would write that up. And we also did this for the example we worked through together in lecture. You're making reference to the figure you created in Excel. This is the same as we did for the other tests, saying these results are illustrated in figure 1. And the figure should be pasted below the results write-up. And so you can see right after my results write-up comes my figure, and it's got to have the bolded figure 1. And then underneath that, the more descriptive title. Okay. A brief conclusion statement. You're indicating if the assumptions were met, so you're reporting the p-value for the Shapiro-Wilks test and the p-value for the Levine's test. Finally, you're going to include a brief statement about whether power was adequate, and if it's not adequate, how many participants would be needed to achieve adequate power for the given effect size you found. Jamovi unfortunately doesn't offer a module to estimate power for ANOVA like it did for the t-tests, so that's unfortunate. But so you're going to have to use the power tables given in the textbook. And I also pasted them into the handout that we walked through together doing the 5 steps for ANOVA in lecture. Okay, so step-by-step instructions, and for the example that we just went through, this is a write-up, okay? And so I don't think I'm going to read through this. I don't think anyone would enjoy that. You can read through it on your own. You can see exactly how I incorporated each of those steps into my write-up. And then the figure is at the end. All right, so that's all for this topic. When you go to do the assignment for this topic, you're going to see, as you can probably, as you probably could have predicted, you are going to have some new data, a new data set, a new research question. You are going to perform an ANOVA to answer the research question, and then you are going to write up your results of that analysis in APA style, including a figure. So have fun.